Thanks for watching Retro Tech Toys. Back again. It's been about 3 weeks because we had to do some moving. I moved to a different town. I got a bigger house so that I could have a studio space in the house, which helps a whole lot. Previously, I had to drive about, 5 miles to get to where I recorded at, which was that storage facility that I set up as an office. So that's a thing of the past. I can record here at home, and I'm really excited because even though it's late in the month, it's still September. So what does that mean? That means it's the month of Tandy, where a lot of creators do episodes on Tandy Radio Shack products. And since we still have a few days in September, I have a Tandy 1000EX that could use some love, and I thought that would be a good way to kick things off. So let's get started. Okay, here's the Tandy 1000EX, and this is exactly how I got it. I bought this online for about $100. Sometimes they go for more, sometimes they go for less. Being that it wasn't too yellowed, the badge is still in place, and the keyboard looks alright. I feel like I got a good deal. This was sold as untested, which can mean untested, and it can also mean this doesn't work. So we'll have to see if it does work and if we can fix it if it doesn't. Now, here's what bothers me. This is how it came, with just hanging off, and no screws, and no disk drive. Everything else seems to be in place. The keyboard's a little wobbly, but that's because the top case isn't on. And it's really dusty. It's hard to show that, but I will. Once we get into cleaning this, I'll bring it in closer so you can see. But here's what we have, and to be honest with you, I don't know if it works. I don't know anything. So what I did was I've got it hooked up to my Commodore 1702 monitor, and it's plugged up to the wall. The capacitors actually look good for the most part. So I'm going to turn it on, and we're going to see what happens. Alright, here we are with the Tandy. I don't know if you could see it, but it's got some pretty nasty dust buildup and all this other stuff. And let's go ahead and take this keyboard off, and we'll see what we can do with that. Thankfully, it came with the keyboard screws. That's always good, because it didn't come with any other screws. Thankfully, I do have a bunch of screws handy, and we can use those no problem. Pull this back and look underneath, and yeah, you can see there's dust bunnies and all sorts of gross stuff. So what you're going to want to do to pull this keyboard off, there's actually a ribbon cable right here that you want to push in and then pull right out. There's one right here, and it's the same deal. And then there is a connector right here. Just be careful that you don't damage anything. And that keyboard pulls right out, and we'll get to it in just a moment. Seems like a whole heck of a lot of work compared to, the RF shield on the Commodore 64, but that wasn't even required. And I'm pretty sure this one's needed. As most of you probably know, the shielding that's over the Commodore 64 was just to please the FCC. So it was just kind of something that they slapped on there. Okay, I'm not going to completely take it off. I'm just going to get it out of the way. because what we really need to do is I need to get down here, and I mean, it's so dusty. And look at that. And to do that, I've of course got some isopropyl alcohol that I won't use a whole bunch of. Got some paper towels, and I've got this salon brush, and the salon brush will help to get a lot of this dust off. And there are a couple of cobwebs in there too, even though it might be difficult to see. And I may not even need the alcohol. Oh my gosh, there was just a random screw. I think it's one of the screws we were missing. And I'm going to brush out these parts of the case as well. Get them out of the way. And that's looking a lot better already. Thankfully, there was not a whole lot that needed to be done with the motherboard, and that's good because, I mean, we turned it on, we saw it worked. It didn't seem to have any weird issues. It was just dusty. So we've got that dust nice and cleaned out. And the fan's actually, the fan actually looks really good. I don't think this computer was used that much. I think it was just kept in storage. Alright, I skipped ahead a little bit and I have this almost put back together. I've just got to put a couple little pieces on, tighten them up, and we are good to go. But I didn't think you guys wanted to hang out while I put a bunch of screws and nuts and stuff in place. So if you can see the keyboard there, I don't know if you can. It's pretty dusty. So the keys look clean enough. Doesn't look like there's anything crazy underneath the keys. So I'm not going to worry about... I'm not going to go through the process of popping these keys off right now, especially because my keycap puller is still packed up. But if it needs to be done, we'll do it later. For now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to get some IPA, and I'm going to wipe down the keyboard because it is a little bit grungy, but it's not that bad. And I'm just going to clean the dust off. And after it dries, alcohol doesn't take long to evaporate. After it dries, I'll go through with my little salon brush and make sure everything looks good. Okay, what I'd like to do now is go ahead and get this top case cleaned off and just give the cover a wipe down. And then we'll take the screws that I have on hand and we'll get this thing put back together properly. And then we'll look at upgrades. All right, now what we need to do is we need to plug in the cable for the LED lights, the indicator lights. That's the easiest part of the whole thing. And then we need to angle this around and get these ribbon cables plugged in. Just hand tighten it, but don't make it too tight. You don't want to break any of the plastic. It's pretty old plastic. And we've got this back together. And we also have our drive bay here. But we need to put a new drive in. Now this is a 1.44 megabyte Chinon floppy drive. Now not all floppy drives will work. You need to have a specific floppy drive and you need to set it a certain way and get it put in there. And even though it's 1.44 megabytes, it'll only read as a 720K. But that's okay. We've got a disk drive. And yeah, you're not going to be able to run some of the 5 1/4 discs that come with your actual retail games, but that's okay. We're not going to be using that much anyway. I just kind of want the system to be complete. We're going to be using another system to get games onto it. So let's just go ahead and get this put together, and that'll be that. And you're probably thinking, well, what are you going to do? You don't have a correct connector here for the power. You've got this regular Molex. Well, I have this right here. This is an adapter. And this will work just fine. And it also gives you another connector. So let's just go ahead and get this plugged in. And let's make sure the drive works. It seems to be working. So we're good there. All right. Got the floppy drive installed. And just in case we need one of these, that's fine. We can get this stuffed under here for cable management. Kind of get that stuffed under as well. And now we got to look at some upgrades. So what do we want to do? Well, I have here a Tandy Plus to ISA adapter. What this does is this takes the Tandy Plus port and it turns it into a standard ISA port. So let's go ahead and plug this guy in, and it just plugs right in and it works. It is simple, plug and play. And this is just basically a card. It's got a ROM in there, which it's like little own BIOS or OS or what do you want to call it in there. And what this allows you to do is plug a compact flash card into the system. And this compact flash card comes ready to go. I got this on eBay. As you can see, it's a Blue Lava System bootable compact flash card, 64 megabytes. And that 64 megabytes is really all we're going to need. So let's go ahead and get that plugged in. It just plugs right in. And then let's plug it into the ISA slot. And all the switches are already configured. Let's turn everything on. And there are other upgrades that you can do as well. You can install up to 640K of RAM in this. I do not have a RAM expansion, but I'm working on getting one. They're kind of expensive. Everything seems like it works okay, and that's good. There, that just lit up, so you can see that works. So let's see, let's get this thing put back together and get the new screws in place that I have, and we'll fire it up and do some cool stuff with it. Now, I also want to say when you're putting this back together, make sure you don't use super long screws in the wrong spot because you're going to put a hole in the top case. And that's not something you want to do. It's not like, you can go to Radio Shack and buy another Tandy 1000EX if something goes wrong. The last step here would be to pop this fella on. Hide all the work we just did, and we're good to go. All right, now it's time to bring back our friend, the 1702 Commodore monitor. And it's starting MS-DOS. You're going to see all of this color stuff, like all of this horrible stuff here. It's just going to look like that because we're not going through a proper CGA connection. I don't have a CGA monitor. I'm looking into getting an 8-bit ISA graphics card, but the problem is you have to find one that's really small, and then it takes away your Tandy color mode. But for now, this will have to do. Let's kind of browse the directory and see what we have. And look at that. There's our XT to IDE folder. Everything's set up. I've got DeskMate. There's DOS, and I have some games already ready to go. So let's go ahead and check out games. I've got quite a bit on there. Dexter is my favorite, so let's go ahead and play Dexter. All right, here we go with Dexter. I had to turn down the ISO on my camera so that I could capture this properly. That works really nice. And listen to that speaker. Oh, it sounds so good. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but the Tandy 1000EX is one of my favorite computers of all time. It was literally the first computer that my family bought as like a family computer. It wasn't the first computer I ever owned. I'll show that one soon. But this is the first computer that my family bought and had it as a family computer. And, oh, I just love it. But yeah. All right, we're back. I went ahead and found the color computer controller. We'll see if that works a little better. There we go. All right, now we played some games. Do we want to see what DeskMate and all that good stuff looks like? And there we are, we're in DeskMate. And this was something that Tandy provided as kind of sort of like a desktop system that you could work with. It was sort of like something that went over DOS, and it did certain things like you had a word processor that you could use, it had a calendar, and I believe it had like addresses and the ability to do like worksheets and telecom, and I believe it had email or whatever rudimentary version of email there was, and that's basically it. So we want to do some stuff See, you can kind of move around in it a little bit. I haven't used it in ages, but there you are. That's Tandy Desk Mate. And I'm now inserting something. That's it. Well, that's all I've got for today. We restored this Tandy 1000EX. We've got it working in perfect order. And we played a couple of games on it. We sort of checked out Deskmate. We'll check that out in a little more detail in the future. And I'm so excited that we got this restored. As I've mentioned, the Tandy 1000EX is my favorite computer in the entire world. It was the very first family computer that my family ever owned. It wasn't my first personal computer. I'll get to that another time, and we'll check that out. But I'm so glad we've got this ready to go. It's just sort of off camera here, but I have like a tower of 8-bit microcomputers that I've built, and this has earned its spot right there by my color computer too. And thank you so much for watching Retro Tech Toys. I couldn't do this without you guys. I do have a Patreon set up if anybody would like to contribute, and if you don't, just, you know, watching my videos and liking and subscribing helps a whole lot too. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you for watching Retro Tech Toys, and we'll see you next time.